What's going on, everybody? It's Rich and Barry Cat. Welcome in. It is Monday, October 20th, 2025. Thank you guys for joining. Wherever you're watching from, kindly post your location in the comment section. I was supposed to have done this on Friday. This was originally scheduled for Friday at 10 a.m. last Friday. It was that. I think that was like the 17th. Yes. So it was my daughter's birthday on her birthday. Our official birthday was yesterday, October 19th. She just turned 7 years old. But we did her party. We threw her a birthday party on Saturday, October 18th. So this broadcast was originally scheduled for that Friday at 10 a.m. And then we just got so busy planning the party, and I ended up moving it to 2 p.m. on Friday to see if I can make it at 2. And then I just realized that I wouldn't be able to give you the quality product that I am proud of. And that is why I moved it till today, October 20th. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you don't know who I am, my name is Richard Barricat. I'm the founder of Barricat Ventures. You can check our website out at barricat.com. We are a trusted name driving US, Nigeria exports and investments. I'm based in the United States, originally born and bred in Lagos, Nigeria. My homestead is in Akwa Ibom State. That's where my family's from. But I've been in the import-export space now for 23 years. And just recently as 5 years ago, was when we moved our operation to start focusing on US Nigeria exports. So today, what I wanted to share with you guys, you see, I'm a little bit bundled up here because it's starting to cool down here in the US. We are in the fall season. Temperature today is about it's going to be about a low of like 56, 57 degrees and a high of about 80 degrees. So I'm just a little bit bundled up right now until it heats up, and then I'm going to take my jacket off. So I'm living in, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I want to share with you, for those tuning in today, I want to talk to you a little bit about my vision for improving Nigerian exports and my 10-point journey to global competitiveness. So this session is for both aspiring and established exporters alike, whether you're based in Nigeria or you're based in the United States. Our focused market is US Nigeria. That's the only markets that we focus in. We don't do any other markets outside of the United States, Nigeria. So this is not theory. This is actually practical hands-on experience that I'm going to share with you. And as I mentioned, it's a 10-point journey that has worked for our company in Barricat and hopefully can work for others who are ready to scale their US Nigeria exports. The first thing I want to talk about is the export process. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what our export process has been like over the past 5 years. And what I always try to instill on people is that there is no such thing as one size fits all when it comes to import export. Everybody is different. Everybody is going to have their own process. They're going to have their own standards. They're going to have the way that they do business. They're going to have their own individual optimization, meaning what they're optimizing for. Some people are doing it on a part-time basis. Others, like ourselves, like Barricat, we are full-time. This is what we do on a full-time basis, at least what I do on a full-time basis. My wife is an educator. That's her job. As far as I'm personally, for me, this is 24/7, 365 days a year for me. So my export process is going to be a little bit different. Um, but at the same time, there's still that foundational aspect of it, though, um, that applies to everybody in the import export space. Unfortunately, there is, again, if there is such a thing as an export school where you can go and get accredited, let me know. But I haven't seen any. Obviously, there's international trade, there are people who international relations. Um, but as far as like getting accredited in college and getting a bachelor's degree in import export, things like that don't exist. So it's really a section or a sub-discipline of trade is what import export is. But for us, our process has been highly, highly rewarding. It's been challenging though. It's been challenging over the past 5 years, but I can honestly say that the reward far outweighs the challenges that we face. So when we started on, we decided very early on that we were going to become a brand. So you're going to have to make a decision on what you want to do in the import export space. We decided that we were going to be a product company, meaning we were going to source products and private label them under our brand. And in some cases, which is actually what we are doing more of right now, is we are starting to own our own supply chain, meaning um, we are moving away from imported raw materials and we are focusing on homegrown um, raw materials. For instance, I'll give you an example. We are in the process of we do a lot of like kitchenware with like wood-based products. So we source obviously the red mahogany wood right there that's homegrown in Nigeria, and then we contract um, product makers, artisans there in Nigeria to we design our own product. We design our own products, but they they um they take our designs and then they turn our designs into tangible products that you can touch and feel. But we've decided that we are going to move away from, and I'll give you an example of what we're moving away from. So we're moving away from our beaded collection jewelry. So um, we have a jewelry maker in Lagos that makes our beaded wedding jewelry. But the issue there is that the plastics, the material that's used to make that particular product, the strings, the beads themselves, they are imported in from China. Okay. It still qualifies as made in Nigeria because the product is actually made right there in Nigeria. But the raw materials that's needed to make this particular jewelry collection line is imported from China. So we are going to be discontinuing that so we can focus all of our attention on raw materials that are homegrown in Nigeria. So, in addition to that, we also have a food product line. We deal in spices and seasonings. Um, our top seller right now on online here in the United States is our Oron crayfish. So we work with some. We source directly from the riverbanks of Oron, Akwa Ibom State, which is approximately a 45-minute drive from my village. We process the because when you get these bulk bagged crayfish, they are almost always freshly harvested and dried They're sandy. There's a lot of impurities in them. So we have a team of workers that we contract. We don't have any employees on like our payroll. It's whenever we need work done, we actually contract people, food processors in Nigeria. We'll give them our standards. We'll tell them exactly what we need. In the instance of our crayfish, they help us with the processing of it, meaning they'll dry it, they'll remove all of the impurities, they'll sort out all of they'll sort and sieve the impurities that we don't need, and then the finished product then is taken to the market. We grind them into crayfish powder. We export that bulk crayfish powder into the United States, and then we add more value to it by packing them into 1 ounce retail ready packaging with the American branded logo. And we offer them for sale on american.com/shop, including Amazon as well as Walmart or marketplace. So those are the three sales channels that we currently have here in the United States. Our standalone website, which is built on WooCommerce, as well as our, like I mentioned, Walmart and Amazon. So by adding that extra value to it, we want to just make it easy for consumers to interact with the product. And by adding that extra value to it, we can then turn around and sell a 1 ounce pack of American ground crayfish for $12 an ounce, which we've been doing now I said 12 years, for 5 years. And we've had no pushback on it. Another product that we sell is this is actually becoming very, very popular for us, is our suya spice that is sourced directly from northern Nigeria, Maiduguri, Borno State. So over there, we engage local farmers there, women, to help us formulate the ingredients. It's a secret ingredient that's only tailored for us. So you look at suya spice in general. I mean, this is the real suya spice that the malams. If you look at like the suya merchants, all those guys that you see on the roadside, those malams, this is the exact suya spice that they use, right from Maiduguri, Borno State. So we work with a team there, get it out to us here in the United States in bulk. We repackage them, we add some value to it. And the suya spices is sold in 4 ounce packs. So we offer those also for sale on American.com/shop to US consumers, and we ship worldwide through our website, American.com/shop. And then we also sell as well on the suya spice is also offered obviously on Walmart as well as Amazon. So we just recently got into oral care with our lookout chewing sticks. Same thing. We are also in control of the supply chain from where the wood, the actual bark toothbrush tree is sourced. We source directly from suppliers who cultivate this toothbrush tree on the border of Cross River and Cameroon. We bring them into Akwa Ibom State. We contracted somebody there in Akwa Ibom State, like to to uh, to mass produce the chewing sticks for us, and then we rebranded them on the Bereket, and we are offering them up for sale as Miswak um, natural chewing stick, an alternative to toothpaste. So that's also doing very well for us. Initially, when we first started, we were literally exporting every and anything imaginable from Nigeria. And then after about 2 or 3 years, we started identifying, like the data is going to start telling you that this is what people are buying. We started looking at the revenue, the sales that are coming in, and we realized that some products We're selling much faster. The sales velocity, which is actually what you're going to need. You're going to need to have something that has a very strong and consistent sales velocity. And one of the key metric points that we'll look for is what sells every single day from Monday to Sunday. Which products, no matter what, rain, sun, snow, what is selling every day. These are the key point metrics, the KPIs that we started looking at. And we realized that for 5 years, crayfish has literally consistently sold for us every single day for the past 5 years. So that is what we take, and then we put that in our hero section. This is a hero product that's selling extremely well for us. The jewelry also is we consider the jewelry collection a hero product, but just for the mere fact that the plastics, the materials used to make them are not homegrown, we are pulling out of that business. You may ask, but why are you pulling out of something that is profitable, that's doing well for you? For us, this is a long-term play for us. We what differentiates us is that we truly do believe in taking locally sourced and homegrown raw materials and turning them into finished goods. So although the jewelry collection sells on a daily basis for us and it's a high margin, very profitable product, we have decided to pull out of that business and strictly only focus on raw materials that we can source locally um, in Nigeria there and still manufacture into finished product that we can export into the United States. Now, this is part of our systems, guys. You're gonna need this. You're gonna need to have structure. You're gonna need to have systems. You gotta have standards in place, and then you also have to know what you want. And there's this sort of like this competing culture where some of you might feel, okay, well, Berrycat, they are they are sourcing, processing, and exporting crayfish. Let me go ahead and do the exact same thing that Berrycat is doing. But you got to realize that because it works for us doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. I'm not saying don't give it a shot. Go ahead and give it a shot. But what I always recommend people to do is work around your production value. And this is what I mean by that. So when I was in film school here in the US in California, I went to Cal State University Northridge and I studied film production. The our instructors, the professors used to tell us when you are writing a story or you are developing a screenplay, always write around your production value. And what that means is, as a producer and as a filmmaker, you look at everything that you have around you that you already have access to, that you can access at no cost, something that is readily available for you. And then you write your story around that product or around that thing. So for instance, I had an apartment when I was doing like my short film, getting ready for my thesis, getting ready to graduate. We had to come up with a story. So they teamed us up in teams of four: the producer, the director, the editor, and I think like the screenwriter. So it was my job as a producer to come up with a story, a short film that we can actually produce cheaply on a low budget. So I basically just wrote around my apartment. I wrote my story around my apartment. The character at the time in my story lived in a studio apartment in Canoga Park, California. And we were able to shoot the scenes in my apartment as opposed to going out and writing outside of my production value. Let's say I'm writing that, okay, this particular character lived in a big house or lived in a mansion. You gotta produce around your production value. So that's another thing that I also encourage people who are, as far as like export processes, find out what you currently have access to. What are some of the food crops in your homestead? For those who, even if you are not based in Nigeria, we are all from somewhere. We are all from somewhere in Nigeria. And I can tell you that a high percentage of Nigerians who are in the diaspora, they are not from Lagos. Yes, I was born in Lagos, but my homestead is in Akwa Ibom State. So that's what I mean about look for something local to you in your homestead. Because what's going to happen is it's just going to make the process a lot easier for you. So you are not out there chasing things. So for instance, um, uh, our top selling product, the American crayfish, we source it directly from Oron. Oron is literally a 40 to 45-minute drive from my village, and it's readily available all year round. Crayfish is not seasonal. Crayfish is something you can source from January to December. Obviously, you keep in mind that depending on the time of year, the prices, depending on the season, prices may be higher and prices may be lower. But crayfish is something that can be sourced literally all year round. So that is why it's important, at least for us. It's like we have that structure, we have the systems, we know exactly what we're looking for. It's like, for instance, with our wood-based products, we looked at what Akwa Ibom offers as a state. What is Akwa Ibom known for? Akwa Ibom is known for raw, natural mahogany, raw, natural timber. So we basically built and we are creating retail products around the raw materials that Akwa Ibom State is known for. So depending on your homestead states, wherever you're from, if you are from Imo, you are from Abia, you are from Ogun State, you are watching this and your family is from Oyo State, find out what your state produces and then see how you can add value. See how you can add value to the raw materials. See how you can take the raw materials that your state naturally produces and turning those raw materials into ready, finished goods for the US consumer market. Because again, this is all about exports. I'm hoping that you're planning on exporting into the United States. As you know, the United States is a very strong consumer economy. Uh, you are able to manufacture with Naira relatively low, even cheaper than, let's say, China. And you can export your goods, export your products into the United States, sell in USD, convert the money back into Naira, and repeat the process. That is what we've been doing for the past 5 years. And I'm telling you guys, shifting to Nigeria has been one of the best decisions that I could have made for our business. Because as a US based entrepreneur, importing and exporting for the first 17 years, remember now, for the first 17 years, it was US China. There is no way China is going to allow me to come to, to their country and set up an export operation. They are just not open to outsiders like that. It's an entirely different market. They really look out for for themselves. They want a lot of their manufacturing to be from Chinese nationals. So, as a small to medium sized company, you have a better chance. You are in the diaspora. You have the benefit of being exposed to a capitalist market. You have the benefit to be exposed to a strong, globally recognized currency like the US dollar. Leverage that expertise, leverage that advantage, and you can set something up easily in Nigeria. You don't need to have a huge warehouse. You don't need to have several employees. As a matter of fact, I realized that I don't want a lot of employees and I don't want to manage a team of people. We build and design and manufacture and export products in phases. And when it's time to produce, I'll contact my team of contractors, who is available, who is not, and I give them a timeline, I give them a start date, I give them all of the materials that they need. And we've been fortunate to have, after 5 years of looking, to have found a project manager right there in Nigeria that understands our business, that understands our process, that understands the standards that we're looking for. And they are able to help assist with managing the local team here. And all we do here in the United States is to give instructions and directions and clear guidance on what we need, and everything else is handled there. Obviously, the final approval has to come from me, but the majority of the heavy lifting is done in Nigeria. So then that way I can focus my time, focus my energy, focus my attention on building the US side of our business, where our customers are. The US side of our export business is where we generate 100% of our revenue, because this is where we sell our goods and products. Okay. So you want a process that you can you want to develop a rinse and repeat process. Something that's easy for you. You don't want to start complicating the export process. And you got to keep in mind, depending on what it is that you're planning on exporting or importing into the United States, if it's a food based product or something that you rub on your skin, lotion, cream, you have to register your facility with the FDA. You got to make sure that you have your importer's number through the CBP, Customs and Border Protection. Another thing you got to look into, I'm going to talk a little bit about logistics down the line, but if you are in the US side, who is your logistics partner? If you're in the United States side exporting to Nigeria via, let's say, air freight, you got to also look into getting a logistics partner. In our case, is Delta Cargo. When we are sending products to Nigeria from the United States, Delta Cargo is who we use, air freight. And if you're looking into, let's say, you want to ship cars or trucks or automobiles, you got to have all of these freight forwarding partners in place. And it's also important for you to also work with a team there in Nigeria that also has US export experience, because they can also guide you. And you got to be open minded. That was what we did. It's like we will reach out to them, to our freight forwarder in Nigeria. It's like, okay, we know you have experience in the US export import space. Which freight forwarder should we be looking into partnering with? And they'll tell you, they will give you a list. Okay, stay away from this person, look into that company. It's all a collaboration. Very, very templated. You got to make sure that you try as much as possible to simplify your export process. Every shipment for us at America, every shipment follows the same process, depending on what it is. Because you have some airlines, some freight forwarders in Nigeria that only carry non-food products. They don't carry food products. And then you have some freight forwarders in Nigeria that only carry food products. They don't carry non-food products. Some might be faster, some might be slower. So regardless, it's organized chaos. Organized chaos. You gotta have consistency because that removes confusion. Having that consistency and a rinse and repeat process is going to help you reduce errors. Most importantly, is going to help you build trust with US customs, freight partners, and buyers when you have consistency in your process. Products have to be consistent. You see, this is the reason why we've decided we don't just go and just buy random things on the market. Initially, when we first started, we did that. We'll buy random things. The design will not be consistent. The color will not be consistent. Will be inconsistent. But because we are taking full control of our supply chain and our manufacturing, everything that we are doing now, today, and into the future is consistent. Consistency in taste when it comes to our suya spice, consistency of design when it comes to our turning sticks, consistency in the walking canes that we have. It's because we are buying our raw materials from the same vendor. We are using the same artisans to build this product. We are using the same contractors for the food processing. So with time, they're now accustomed to our process. But all of this is going to take a little bit of time and it's going to take some trial and error. So that's the first step that I want to talk about. All I wanted to talk about is just build systems. When you have systems in place, it eliminates all of the chaos and all of the confusion and all of the headache that you would face otherwise if you didn't have systems, structure, and standards in place. So, sourcing and product development. I talked a little bit about the product development side and also the sourcing, but I'm going to flesh it out a little bit more. So, when we first started out in, golly, in 2020, we literally were sourcing from just a variety of people. We would go to buy this particular product. This person may only have 200 pieces. Then we will hop and find another supplier that can give us more. And because of the lack of consistency with the supply chain, it created a lot of quality issues for us. So now um, we are proud to announce that we do have a very, very experienced sourcing team in Lagos, Nigeria. We've been using this individual for the past 5 years. Now we source directly from trusted farmers, trusted suppliers. As far as like product development goes, it's the same thing. And if we have to use um, artisans, because you're going to, that's another thing too, is you're going to face an issue where, and I don't know why this happens in Nigeria. It almost seems as if the more you do business with somebody, the more they want to charge you because they feel that you've gotten a little bit too dependent on them. We had a situation, and that is why we held back on our walking sticks until we just recently found someone new. Because when we started increasing the order, normally in the Western world, the more you buy, the less you pay. But this particular individual, when we started increasing the order, he wanted to scale the order of that particular product, he literally quadrupled his price. Because in his head, he felt as if he's been the one crafting the walking canes. We are obviously selling them in the US and we are coming back for more. So he is not thinking long term. He's thinking, and again, this is just like a false way of thinking that maybe we needed him. And he realized quickly that no, that's not the way it works. We want to partner with you. We don't need you for anything. So and the thing is too is he wanted to control the raw materials too. And we decided like, look, we are giving you all of the business you can handle, but we don't necessarily like the quality, even though the craftsmanship of the canes were superb. We just did not like the quality of the wood. So when we are offered to just use him for labor, meaning we were just going to, all we needed him to do was just carve. We are going to source our own uh, wood because he was using timber. We decided that we wanted to use red mahogany, which is a lot stronger than timber. He said, okay, well, if that is what you want to do, then my labor fee, I mean, the guy literally quadrupled his labor fee. And we ended up suspending manufacturing of our canes for a while. And just recently, we ended up finding a new artisan. And now that person literally, we just use that person for labor. We supply the raw materials. We oversee the processing. This individual allows us to come to their facility to document and film the manufacturing process of the walking canes. And their price is a lot lower. Like when we look at it now, like our production cost for the canes is actually a lot lower than the guy that we had before. Because now we are able to go and source the wood, which is the core component of this product, directly ourselves, and we buy them relatively affordably, and we deliver it to their facility. They have their own machinery, they have their own team. We just pay for labor, and they design it based on our unique requirements. So you're going to face this. So just make sure that you if you can negotiate just the labor rate. That's what we do. Everything that we do now, We supply all of the raw materials. We just negotiate labor. Same thing we did when we were processing our afang leaves. Same thing. We contracted some women there on a labor basis. We are going to go source our own fresh afang. We are going to source everything ourselves. We just need you to just do the work. So the key is going from raw to retail ready products, and ensure that the raw, again, it all depends on the control that you want. And for us, when we say made in Nigeria, we truly mean that, meaning all of the raw materials are homegrown in Nigeria. The workers are there in Nigeria. Our team is there in Nigeria. It is truly 100% made in Nigeria. That is the promise that we are offering our customers. When they buy our products, they know that they're buying 100% authentically made Nigerian product. Some of you may choose to source materials, like for those, let's say for those in the clothing industry, you are buying textiles and fabrics from China, those in Ankara prints. You guys know Africa doesn't really have a textile industry. They just don't exist in Africa. A lot of those, 100% of the Ankara that you are wearing and the Adire and all those textiles, they are imported from Bangladesh. They're imported from China, imported from Pakistan, imported from India. So even though they are made and designed by Nigerians and they are tailored there in Nigeria, the fabric itself, the buttons that you are wearing, how many button manufacturers do we have in Nigeria? Or thread manufacturers do we have in Nigeria? All of those items are imported. But if that is your business model, there's nothing wrong with that, though. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We just choose to have all of our products homegrown, sourced, cultivated, and manufactured in Nigeria. That is our business model today. Will it change tomorrow? Never say never. But today, that is our business model. So, quality management, number 3, quality management, standards that sell globally. Consistency sells. Consistency in taste, consistency in the cut for those in the fashion space, consistency in, and again, a lot of these handmade, hand carved goods, they are going to have slight variations in some parts of them. But for the most part, you can see a level of consistency in, let's say, 90% of the actual finished product for like handmade carved goods. But for packaged foods like suya spice, packaged foods like crayfish, for those who, I mean, we did palm oil too. We exported palm oil for quite a while. And the reason we stopped our palm oil exports was because of the bottling. We just couldn't find a bottler in Nigeria to bottle our palm oil. Because initially we were bringing them into the US bulk and we will bottle them ourselves in the United States. And I just realized that, man, I don't like touching palm oil. I don't like I don't like interacting with palm oil. And that's one of the things that one of the decisions that I made very early on is everything that I do, I have to like, I have to enjoy. And I just did not like interacting and touching palm oil. A little palm oil spill on the bottle could ruin your day. You guys know what I'm talking about. So, not just packaging, labeling is also very, very important. Consistency in labeling. Nigerian packaging and labeling is too busy. I can look at a packaging a mile away and tell you that is a Nigerian packaging. Is Nigerian packaging. Because brands feel that they have to jam pack. Brands feel like they have to jam pack as much information as possible on their packaging and labeling. Let me tell you, it's one thing if you are selling locally in Nigeria to local Nigerian consumers. When it comes to US consumers don't care about your NAFDAC certification. They don't care about your FDA number. They don't care about any of that. It is not a requirement. What is the product? If it's crayfish, say it's crayfish. Where is it made? It's made in Nigeria. What is the ingredient? Dried crayfish. That is it. The one information though that you must have on your packaging, particularly food products, you have to have the company name. You have to have the facility's address. It can be a PO box or it can be a physical address. You're going to need that. You have to have a contact number or an email address and a website. These are all required on US food packaging. I'll repeat it again. The name of the company, the address. If it's a home-based company, I highly recommend that you get a PO box number so you are not publicizing where you live. But you're going to need an address. You will need a phone number, an email, a phone or email address, either or. It doesn't have to be both. You can add both if you want to, but either a phone number or an email address, you will need it on your packaging. And you will need your website on your packaging. That is just the standard. I've seen some packaging out there, Nigerian products packaging, all sorts of crazy, audacious claims, information that the average consumer doesn't even care about and that's not even a requirement. Keep the packaging simple. That's what we do. We keep our packaging. Look at American packaging. Whether it's our crayfish, whether it's our suya or our chewing sticks or our walking canes, our turning sticks. Very, very simple. It has the iconic Umbercat logo on it. You have our contact information here in Nevada. You have our phone number. And our packaging is also consistent too. And it's on brand. So you look at our mug. Yeah, I'll show you guys this mug. So that's why you say our packaging is white. It's on brand. You look behind me, it's white, black, and red. Keep it simple. So, branding and market positioning, you have to sell the story, not just the product. That's one of the things that I pride ourselves about is all of our products are story driven. We position Bereket premium, authentic, story driven product. Our listings, when you go and you check us out on Amazon and you check us out on Walmart, there's a story behind the listing of our crayfish. There's a story behind the suya spice. There's a story behind the chewing stick. There's a story behind the canes and the turning sticks. Stories that we can confidently tell because we are the ones developing the stories. That is how you build a brand. You don't build a brand just by selling a product and just product alone. You gotta have a strong story behind it. And also, consumers today, like US consumers today, they want to know the story behind the product that they are buying. They want to know the team and the company behind the products that they are stocking in their pantries. So your packaging has to tell, your product has to tell has to tell the origin story, the culture, the craftsmanship. That is why we feature made in Nigeria or product of Nigeria boldly on our packaging. I've seen some brands, they actually hide that their product is made in Nigeria. And you have to be specific. You see, Africa is a continent, it's not a country. So you see some packaging from Africa, made in Africa, African product. Be specific, take pride in Nigeria, is what we do. We own the Nigerian story. Even if you are able to just reach Nigerians and Nigerians alone, and by the way, our customer base, we have more international customers buying American products than Nigerians. It's because, let's just say, by niching down and being very focused on pushing out Nigerian made narrative, the made in Nigeria narrative, even if we are only attracting Nigerians in a diaspora, that's still enough for us. But we've discovered over the years that our customer base expands beyond Nigerians in the diaspora. There are US customers who are looking at unique, and then when they see the made in Africa, it's like, okay, what part of Africa is this thing made from? Tell them exactly where it's made from. Is it a Ghanaian product? Made in Ghana. If it's a Nigerian product, proudly made in Nigeria. Is it a Kenyan product? It's made in Kenya. Highlight the country of origin. Our branding, made in Nigeria, sold globally. It just helps you turn your product into an experience. Because everybody today is just selling a product. There's really no experience behind it. And what underpins experience, when someone has an experience with your product, lead with the story behind that product. So, branding and market positioning, brand simply, but you also have to position the country of origin. In some cases, I'll even go as far as to tell people the state is made from and the village. That's one of the things that's maybe that is one of the reasons why our crayfish sells so well at $12 an ounce. It's made in my village. Ikorobikoi. It's made in my state, Akwa Ibom State, proudly. And I share this as part of our storytelling narrative. So people realize, so when people buy Mberike crayfish, they know that they are not just buying another crayfish, they know that they are buying the story behind it. And that is why we are priced at $12 an ounce, when some people are selling theirs for $10 a pound. And we are still outselling them. So payments and trust. I want to talk about payments. How do we pay for how do we pay our team? How do we pay for products in Nigeria? Very, very simple. Like send wave. So obviously you're going to need a banking institution in Nigeria. If you are a Nigerian diaspora, you need to open a local Nigerian bank account. Very, very important. Okay. Because what we do is we always pay in Naira. So our US bank account, where we bank through Navy Federal Credit Union, is linked to an intermediate application. We use the SendWave. We've done a lot of these apps like Western Union and AfriX and other. We've just realized that SendWave is the best app for us. And through SendWave, our local Nigerian account through EcoBank Nigeria, that's another bank I want to recommend for you guys. If you're thinking of, I'll probably say like the top 3 banks in Nigeria, or let me just say top 5. Zenith is one of them in no particular order. EcoBank is there. Guarantee Trust Bank, GT Bank is there. Money Point is another good is a good fintech bank. And First Bank, those legacy banks, First Bank, Union Bank, UBA. Nigeria is a capital market. We have a robust banking system in Nigeria. So you got to go open a bank account with any one of those banks that I mentioned. You're going to be fine. If you absolutely want peace of mind, just stick with the legacy banks. The EcoBank, the Zenith, First Bank, Union Bank, UBA. These are the legacy banking institutions in Nigeria. If you just want peace of mind abroad, where you can sleep well at night, you don't have to worry about your money your money going missing, stick with those legacy banks. And all you need is an account in the local Naira currency, an account and a USD account. You can link all of that through SendWave. So when it's time for me to pay my vendors, to pay my team, to source, I just simply transfer USD. Let me see right now what it is right now. So today is what? October 20th. I'm on the SendWave app. See how much it is. It's 1 USD to 1,473 Naira. If I were to transfer $1,000 right now, it would take 5 minutes to be converted into Nigeria, into my American Ventures Naira account. That is how I pay my team. This thing is easy if you want to make it easy, and it can be difficult if you want to make it difficult. Or if you don't have a local Naira account in Nigeria, you can easily pay your vendors directly here too. So instead of that transaction going directly into your bank account, it will go directly into your vendor's bank account, local bank accounts here in Nigeria. So our transactions are 100% protected through SendWave. We have never had an issue with SendWave. In the 5 years that I've been using SendWave, I've never had an issue. Everything is simple. I pay my team on time. I pay my vendors. I pay my suppliers through a trusted payment system. And SendWave is one of the better ones out there. I don't know what you guys are using though. Whatever you are using in Nigeria from abroad to pay your team in Nigeria, post it in the comment section. Let me know if there's an alternative. But here's the thing about me. When something works for me, when I find success in a particular product or an app or a business or a hotel chain or an airline, I don't change. So chances are I'm not going to leave. I went to a conference in DC. Uh, there's a particular. I'm not gonna say the name of the app, but they're also a payments app, just like SendWave, that's owned by a Nigerian. I mean, I tried to patronize them. I downloaded the app and I used it once or twice, and it was okay. I think the rate was also very comparable to SendWave. I still have the app on my phone, but I'm a creature of habit. When something works for me, I hardly ever change. But there are other alternatives out there, though. I'm not saying that you should use SendWave. I'm not endorsing them. They're not paying me for this. I'm just showing you guys what works for me. Again, I've tried Western Union before in the past. They have fees. SendWave doesn't really have fees. And with SendWave, I can be rest assured that if I make a transaction literally within, let's say, 2 minutes, the funds are in my local bank account. Okay, so let's talk about logistics and infrastructure and how you can move goods faster and safer. I've talked about this on multiple occasions. So these are the modes of exports. You have air freight, which the majority of exporters use, especially those who are exporting food crops and food products, because it's faster. Depending on the airline, the transit time between your shipment leaving Nigeria to arriving anywhere in the United States can be 3 to 5 days. DHL is very, very known for that, for speed. You also have FedEx International Saver, and you have UPS as well, known for speed. Highly recommended for people who are shipping delicate food products. You want to go with the airlines. And there are two types. You can either go with Express. DHL is an express courier company. FedEx, UPS. Or you can go the cargo route. Delta Cargo, Virgin, KLM. The problem with those cargo airlines, it can take you anywhere from a month to 6 weeks to get your product. They are a lot cheaper than Express, 50% cheaper than Express. But the flip side is it's going to take you about a month to 6 weeks to get your product through air cargo. And you have to realize another thing too is Nigeria doesn't really have a true cargo airline. A lot of the cargoes shipped out of Nigeria are shipped through passenger airlines that are allotted a certain amount of space, because you have to think about this. Their primary customers are passenger travelers. So they have to take care of people's luggage first, and then they will allocate a certain percentage, a certain space for cargo. That is why it takes 6 weeks, a month to 6 weeks for people to get their cargo products from Nigeria. So the best alternative, which is what's my water, which is a lot more expensive, is to go through Express, which we've done. We started off with DHL, and now we primarily use FedEx for non-food air shipments, and we use UPS for food-based shipments. Now, if you have heavy commodities, heavy items, your best option is to go through less than container groupage shipment via sea. But you gotta be careful. If you don't control the ocean shipment, chances are it can take anywhere from 6 months to 8 months for you to get, especially those who are going through groupage. Meaning you have so the way it works in Nigeria is there's going to be a primary exporter who, let's say, they lease a 40-foot container, or they lease a 20-foot container. And then they start selling inventory based on that container. That container can't leave Nigeria until it's filled up. So imagine, let's say you are now customer number one shipping a pallet. It may take them 6 months to fill that container up before it leaves Nigeria. That's how they do it. They will consolidate all the products in a warehouse that is not rodent proof. If you are in the food space trying to go the cheap groupage route through ocean, you got to consider that most of these warehouses that they have there are not rodent proof. I've been a victim before. So the goods are consolidated in a warehouse. And when it hits a certain weight, I think it's like 32,000 kilograms for a 40-foot container. That is when they will then hire a container to transport the product abroad. I experienced this one firsthand when I was bringing in honey from Nigeria. It took me 6 months to 8 months to receive my honey. By the time I received it, I lost all of my customers. I had given up. It took me 2 years to dispose of that inventory. So unless you have absolute control of your ocean shipments, or unless you are willing to wait 6 months to 8 months, stay away from groupage. Especially Nigerian groupage to the US. Stay away from that. If it's reverse, if it's the other way around, let's say it's a groupage shipment from US to Nigeria, that one is a little bit different. You can get your products in 6 weeks latest. But when it comes to Nigerian groupage from Lagos to, let's say, the ports of Houston, Baltimore, Long Beach, and you are in this container, you are sharing a container with a bunch of other shippers. If you are not ready to be in it for 6 months to 8 months, don't even think about it. because it's going to happen. Okay. So I know we segued a little bit into logistics. I'm going to kind of continue there a little bit. Now, for us, we've also started branding our shipping boxes. So we have a uh, a box making company that we use in Lagos. They can build, literally custom build a 3 to 5 ply cardboard box for you, then that you can actually brand with your logo. That's what we've actually started doing. So we can have a little bit more consistency in every touch point of our shipment, from the exterior boxes that we use to the packaging themselves is all branded um, Barricade. So air freight is good for lightweight items. Obviously, they have the early shipping schedule that I mentioned, anywhere from let's say 3 to 10. I think 10 businesses is actually pushing it, but the sweet spot is like 7 business days. You will get literally shipped to your door from Lagos, Nigeria, from Lagos, Nigeria to the US. And a rule of thumb is this: in order for you to get a good air freight rate, you have to have a minimum of 100 kilograms. That is when you start getting the price breaks. So if you want to ship through DHL, or you are shipping through FedEx, or you decide to ship through UPS, always keep in mind that you're gonna need to have a minimum of 100 kilograms. It can literally knock your rates down by 30, 40, 50%. So so keep this in mind. 100 kg minimum for air freight shipments. Okay, so we're gonna move on to number 7, compliance. Yeah, we talked about payments, we talked about logistics and infrastructure. We're gonna go and start talking about compliance and customs as far as like your documentation as a competitive advantage. Remember, I said earlier on at the beginning of this session, for all exporters, whether you are based in Nigeria or you are based in the United States, your facility must be registered with the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. And that is something that can only be done on the US side, because you are going to need what is called a Duns and Bradstreet number that is only provided to US companies. All of this is free. You could obtain a Duns number free of cost. Dawns and Bradstreet. Obviously, they're going to need your company's information. They're going to need your business certificate in order for them to issue you a Dawn and Bradstreet number. That is what you are going to use. It's a requirement for you to register your establishment with the FDA. And the FDA, once it's done, is also free. The FDA doesn't charge you a fee. They don't charge you a renewal fee. Once you register your establishment, you will be issued an FDA registration number. There is no such thing as an FDA license or an FDA certificate or an FDA. There's no such thing. You're gonna get a FDA registration number, and that is unique to you and unique to you alone. And with that FDA number, in our case, so we have Embarcad Ventures USA, that's obviously registered with the FDA. And then we have Embarcad Ventures Nigeria Limited, our facility in Nigeria that is under as a sub registrant or a sub company under Embarcad Ventures, is Embarcad Ventures Nigeria Limited. So both facilities are registered legally with the FDA. So trade documentation as part of your brand. You're going to need that depending on the kind of products. There are other licenses and documentations that you're going to need as well, depending on what you are exporting. But this is why you want to hire a US side customs broker, even if it's just to hire them for a couple of hours for consultation, to let them know that this is what you're planning on bringing in. They can advise you. You want to start talking to your US side customs broker ahead of time, ahead of all of your exports and imports. If you are dealing, that is if you are going cargo or via sea. If you are going through express channels and courier channels like FedEx, UPS, and DHL, they have their own in-house customs agents that will handle the clearing of your product. They will handle everything that you need, obviously in consultation with you, because they may require some certain documentation from you, particularly if you are in the food or cosmetics export space. Part of the requirement that they're going to need from you is your FDA registration number at the at the very bare minimum. You gotta have the FDA registration number, regardless of whether you're going through an in-house customs brokers or you are getting your own customs broker, which we actually do have. Because in some cases we do in some cases we do express, in other cases we do cargo, and in some cases we do sea shipments. Like I still import guys from China. I still do that occasionally. And I have a US side customs broker that handles those shipments that express brokers can't handle. Okay. So those export papers, they are very, very important. It's all about staying organized. Okay. So let's talk about security and risk management. You can't sell a lost product. You can't sell a damaged product, and you can't sell a seized product. How do you mitigate risks when you are exporting from Nigeria? Steer clear of branded, trademarked products that you don't own, especially for those who are exporting for commercial use, meaning you are exporting to mark up the goods to sell to consumers. Be very careful of exporting branded products. A way around that is to become an authorized distributor of that product that you're planning on importing. And it's very easy to do that. You have to reach out to the brand directly and request authorization to become a US importer of their product. There's a lot of brands, local brands in Nigeria, I'm telling you, that are looking for international distributors. It is not what we do. We are not in the business of distributing other people's brands. But in the case that, let's say, we want to work with, let's say, a company like Olam or a major food processing company in Nigeria. For example, we have um, a coconut oil processing plant in Akwa Ibom State. Companies like that I can reach out to private label coconut oil under the Barricade brand. I can do that. So we are not in the business of selling third party brands. But if you don't want to go the private label route and you want to export a trademark brand, just name top retail manufacturers in Nigeria. If you're interested in selling their brands and importing their brands into the United States, you can. Just reach out to them directly and get in alignment with them. Be transparent. Let them know what you're trying to do. You are a US based merchant. You are looking at distribution. You're inquiring about a distribution opportunity. You would love to distribute their brands in the United States. And how can you get started? What is the process on becoming an authorized US distributor? That is how you gain the confidence and you're getting good and well with these brands. But when you are trying to export or import a brand that you don't own, you really open up yourself for a lot of risks. The worst that can happen to you is to have that product confiscated because you are not the legal authorized owner of that product. So, how do we mitigate risk? Everything that we do, everything that we import into the United States from Nigeria is Mberiket branded. It's Mberiket made, it's Mberiket processed. We own the supply chain, we own the brand, obviously, we own our own distribution and sales channels here in the United States. That is why we avoid and mitigate risks. Okay. So that is what you want to do. Very, very easy. If you want to, you got to bring in other brands. Milo, Maggi, Peak Milk. These brands are owned by major companies. Just request to become an authorized distributor of that product in the United States. And if you make a good enough case as to why you can help them sell more products in the United States market, maybe people are, you are interested in selling peak milk or interested in selling Maggie on Amazon or Walmart, and you've done your research and you see the demand and you see the need for items like that, or there aren't that many sellers, or you have to be able to prove your value to these organizations. I don't see why they wouldn't give you a distributorship. Now, once you have that letter of authorization to become a US side distributor, the sky's the limit for you. You just have to negotiate how often you purchase from them, what they need. Do you buy in cases? Do you buy in pallets? What are the expectations from you? All of this, or otherwise, if you want to bypass all of that, just create your own brand. That's the best way to bypass all that. Build your own brand, just like we're doing. So, digital infrastructure, where do we sell our products? Simple. 3 digital sales channel. Berica.com/shop. This is where you can go and find authentic made in Nigeria products. We have 5 different categories there. We have grocery, we have decor, accessories, kitchen, and skincare. We are still developing and building our SKUs, but you can go on Berica.com, shop directly on our website. You can also shop, and we ship worldwide too from our Las Vegas facility all across the world. Or if you are more comfortable on Amazon, shop us on Amazon. If you're more comfortable on Walmart, shop us there. We want to meet US consumers where they are and where they feel the most comfortable. So that's where that is our digital infrastructure where we get our goods out. So the last one is capital access. How do we fund our exports? We are, as of today, we are largely 100% self-funded. We don't take out business loans. We don't have investors. We don't have partners. Literally, Mbericat Ventures is a family business with 4 owners: myself, my wife Kate, and our 2 daughters, Jeanette and Nellie. And when we pass on the interest, our company interest passes on to our kids. So to keep things simple, we cut our coat according to our cloth. At some point, we are going to need institutional capital, but as of today, it's not needed. So we are still largely 100% self-funded. So some of you might, you want to get started in exports. You may think that your problem is capital. I'm telling you, capital is always your last problem. First thing you should do is create demand for what you are trying to sell. Add value to the export value chain. What are you selling? Is the item that you are selling in demand? Is it currently selling locally in Nigeria? If it's currently selling locally in Nigeria, there's a pretty good chance it will sell well abroad. That is why crayfish sells very well for us, because you can't make Nigerian soup without crayfish. And I'm telling you, the majority of our customers are not even Nigerians, they're Americans. They use crayfish for other applications. They use it as a basic seafood seasoning. For me personally, I put crayfish. My daughter said it the other day, Daddy, you put crayfish on everything. I do. I put it on rice. I put it on meat. I put it on beans. I put it on eggs, plantains, you name it. I put crayfish on. My 7-year-old daughter, who just turned 7, said, Daddy, you put crayfish on everything. Find demand for your product first before going out and taking out loans and seeking capital and seeking investors. Create a strong demand for your product first. Capital follows structure, capital follows demand. Demand does not follow capital. Okay. So in closing, Nigeria can become a global export powerhouse if you know what you're doing. I'm telling you, our company in Bereket, we are a living proof. And we truly, truly believe in the Nigerian market. But we are successful in what we are doing. Being able to create a brand and products that people love, as well as our community that people enjoy. So check us out on Bereket group on Telegram. We used to be on WhatsApp, but we outgrew WhatsApp because the maximum allowable members on WhatsApp in our WhatsApp group was 1,025 members. We outgrew that. There was a point where we had like 50 people on the waiting list just waiting to enter the WhatsApp group. So we decided to shut down WhatsApp altogether and open up Telegram. So now on Telegram, we have a capacity of 200,000 people on Telegram. We are not there yet. That's the capacity. Right now, we are like at 250. So if you want to learn about exports and investments, you are in the United States looking into the Nigeria market, or you're in Nigeria looking at entering the United States market in the export or investment space. There's another thing that I want to talk about is more and more Nigerians now are starting to invest in the US. I'm talking about Nigeria. Nigerians based at home are investing in US, and a good sector, we're going to segue into that on the next one, is real estate. So join me on the next podcast. I don't know when it's going to be, but if you have not subscribed to America YouTube channel, I highly encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can stay in the know of when the next session and the next podcast is going to be broadcast. Again, I don't have a schedule for it because I don't want this to be like a job. Some people, they'll say, okay, every Monday at 7, every Tuesday. I don't want this to be a job. This is fun for me. This is something that I do when my schedule opens up. So I want the flexibility to be able to move things around to move things around as I choose to. Now, in the case of the next one that we're going to talk about, which is the how Nigerians based back home can invest in US real estate. I think that one's going to be hot. I'm just going to schedule it. Today is the 20th. Maybe I'll schedule it for Wednesday at 10. But keep in mind that it's subject to change. So you don't say, Rich, you scheduled it. It's subject to change. I've done this many times where I've scheduled a podcast session and I get something happens and I'll just move it. I can do that. I'm solo. I work for myself. I can make up my own time. But that's one thing I want to avoid is treating this like a job. I don't want it to be a podcast that I'm tethered to at a certain date and a certain time. And also, I'm going to be on the road, guys. I want to be able to bring you guys content on the road. I'm going to be visiting some manufacturing factories in Nigeria. I want to bring you guys some of these authentic made in Nigeria stories. There are people that I'm talking to right now. I'm actually traveling to Nigeria soon. I want to be able to bring you guys a podcast from anywhere in the world. And that is why I don't really do guests. I don't really do, inviting people to be a guest on my show like that. Occasionally I have one or two, but I don't want this to be a guest dependent podcast. I want to come, share my processes, share my experiences, literally from anywhere I choose to and anytime I choose to. And that is why we don't have a structured schedule for the podcast. Okay. So, it's all about moving from raw materials and raw exports to becoming a refined, retail ready brand. Okay. That is how we can shift global perception and build real economic value in Nigeria. So join our Telegram community at Mberike Group on Telegram. Visit our website, mberike.com, and start turning your ideas into action. Okay. So the next one is going to be that I'm going to do is how Nigerians abroad, how Nigerians back home are investing in US real estate. Obviously, I'm going to tighten up the title a little bit, but that's going to be the next one. I'm actually excited to share that because we are also real estate investors in the United States here. I also, at some point, want to talk about stocks. I want to talk about stocks too. We invest in stocks too. So thank you guys. It's an hour and a half. I was only expecting to spend about an hour on this. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys on the next one. Take care.